Okay, this morning's subject revolves around a story that I'd heard some time ago and came across again, and it just really inspired me, and I wanted to share it. It's an interesting story of perseverance. Perseverance, obviously, is something that we all must have if we're going to have any type of success in life at any level. Perseverance is an element we can't be successful without having that characteristic. This particular guy's name that I'm about to share was Mel Blanc. He, if you've ever watched cartoons, older cartoons such as Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam, the list goes on. You know, the duck and it's unbelievable, hundreds of them. Okay, so all those little bit maybe older type of cartoons, this guy was the voiceover for that. He would come in and they'd record his voice, and he would speak as one character and then switch over and speak as the other character with a different voice. And he'd have to constantly be analyzing in what mood each character would be when they were speaking so that he can adjust, not only have the characteristic of that character, but also adjust based on emotion. Now, before I go deeper into what this guy did and how amazing that was to create those different voiceovers, when he was just a young lad going to school, he discovered he had that gift. And so he decided at a fairly early age that he was going to take this to Hollywood and see if he can do voiceover there. He goes to the place where they did that. The leader there just looks at him and says, "We have all the voices we need. You can move on." He comes back for every 2 weeks for a year and a half, persistent to get his position. And one day it happened that he got his position. Somebody said, "Sure, talk to me. Let me hear you what you've got." And he shared. And when he did, they were, "Oh my goodness, this is good. Let me have my colleagues hear you out." Brought other people in it. So he did it for them too. The main leader said, "What are you doing next Tuesday?" He said, "Well, obviously I wasn't doing anything, but I didn't tell him that. I just said I'd be available." He was there, and from that point forward, he moved forward with his career as a voiceover. Now, one day he had an accident, and he was put in a full-body cast. And while he was laying in that cast and trying to figure out what he was going to do with his life, he'd already been doing this voiceover for many years. So he decided to see how many voices he actually had. And he started early in the morning and went till midnight that night and discovered he had over 400 different voices. Now, you're thinking, well, that was Mel Blanc. He had a lot of voices, and he did the favorite character, Bugs Bunny. And I think at one point in time, his voice would have probably been the most well-known voice around the world of any voice ever spoken. But here's the deal. For him to get to where his gift could fully emerge and do what he felt like he needed to do, he had to sell somebody on the idea to give him a shot at it. Sometimes we're just selling the universe on letting us have a shot at what we believe is rightfully ours: financial freedom, leadership, whatever it might be that we desire to do or have. It takes persistence. You see, this guy was so gifted, has over 400 voices, yet he had to come back to this same place for a year and a half every 2 weeks to get in. You know, one guy once said, "Oh, if you have your gift will make room for you." I've got news for you. It does. Only after you've proven your persistence and consistency and your ability to stay the course and fight for what you know is rightfully yours until ultimately you break through and you get what you came for. You see, had that guy have quit at a year, 1 year, said, well, this is never going to happen, we would have never known his name because he would have never been able to use that gift. They did try to use him in some movies, and he just wasn't cut out for that. Didn't work for him. But he was gifted with a voiceover and did an absolute outstanding, incredible, spectacular job of using his voice in different settings, scenarios, characters, characteristics, emotions, the concepts that were being shared and portrayed as the characters in those kids' movies. My point with sharing this morning is the perseverance that it took. You see, the gift was there, and that gift set him up financially free. But he had to fight to get his gift in a place that he could use it. You know, we sometimes have to, we know that we desire and deserve financial freedom. But it takes a lot of persistence, a lot of rejection to get there. Most of us would like to bypass the rejection. I don't know of a single person here that in their right mind they would say, if it was possible to bypass rejection, I would do that. Of course you would. All of us would. That's common sense. We just would. If we don't have to take rejection, we're not going to go seek it. But we know it's impossible on this side of eternity to create anything of significance without going through rejection, without going through perseverance, without staying consistent, committed, dedicated, and focused to what it is that you want. Now, the story of this persistent young lad that did, I don't remember, I think it's somewhere around 50, 60 years of voiceover, that finally got his way in to let his gift be heard. You see, we get so many stories like his, but we get far more stories like the young man that wrote the story 3 feet from gold. He finds the mine. He goes out west to Colorado, finds a mine. He realizes it's a very strong mine. He stakes it out, goes back home, gets investments from people that were willing to invest in him and invest in his journey. He buys the equipment, gets employees, goes back east or west, starts mining. Everything is going well. They hit some gold pretty quick, and it was going good, and he had lots of money coming in. He just thought, this is the end of it. It's going to happen. Isn't it true? Sometimes that happens in our business. Our business takes off. We felt like we hit gold, and everything's going great. Everything's going to be amazing. It's going to go up. And then all of a sudden, the mine ran dry. No more gold. He kept drilling, kept using up all the money that he had gotten from his friends, and then all the money from all the gold they had dug out earlier, mined earlier. And ultimately, he finds himself realizing one day that he has enough money left over for 2 weeks, and they're done. He made a commitment, in 2 weeks, if we don't hit gold, I'm going to sell the equipment to a junk dealer. I'm going back east again. This just doesn't work. He worked and worked hard. 2 weeks, nothing. He laid his employees off, told them they could leave, found a junk dealer, sold all of his equipment for $400 and left. Now, the junk dealer did what a wise man would do. He might not have done what an educated man might have done, but he did what a wise man would do. He goes and he seeks counsel, somebody that can see what's going on. And this guy goes and inspects the mine, and he says to the junk dealer, if you mine out this direction 3 feet, you're going to hit gold. He hires his people, they turn the direction, they begin mining, and in 3 feet he hits gold. Now, about 8-9 months later, out on the East Coast, is a young man sitting, trying to do life insurance sales to make a living for himself and pay off all this debt that he had accumulated. He was sitting at a coffee shop, drinking his coffee and eating his waffles and reading the paper, and all of a sudden the paper catches his attention. The headlines of the paper had his name on it. Of course that catches his attention. He has to read it. And then he recognizes another name, the junk dealer's name. And it goes on to explain that the junk dealer had brought in a person that understood mining and directed him to change direction, and in 3 feet he would hit gold, and in 3 feet he did. And that proved out to being what he knew it was at the very beginning, one of the most powerful gold mines in Colorado in the West. And this junk dealer no longer needed to be a junk dealer. He became a multimillionaire because he realized there was something of great value there. He didn't walk away from it. He discovered what he could do more of. See, the man that left it when it was 3 feet from gold, he had done what was right. He continued down that direction. That's the right thing to do. The problem is, right when you want to give up is oftentimes when you're the closest to the breakthrough. A young man that had the voiceover, had he have quit in 1 year and 5 months going back, we would not have heard Bugs Bunny the way we hear it today, or many of the other cartoons. You see, his gift made room for him, but his gift didn't just do it. He had to find a way to get his gift out there. The promised land was promised to the Israelites, but they had to fight for it. They had to go through it and clean it out, drive out the enemy, the giants, the list goes on. Guys, with that being said, it's been a privilege to spend a few minutes with you all this morning. I just encourage you to have an absolute amazing day. Lift your head up, your chin, put a big smile on your face. Know that your best days are ahead, and do me a favor. Don't ever settle for less than who you are. May God bless you.